You stopped eating right now, your body wouldn't just starve. Within hours, a hidden switch inside your cells would flip. It's a survival mechanism called the metabolic switch, and most people never trigger it. Right now, your cells are running on a predictable fuel cycle. Glucose comes in, energy goes out, and the process repeats endlessly. But deprive those cells of food for 3 full days and everything changes. They don't just adapt, they enter an ancient survival mode that rewrites their behavior from the inside out. The question isn't whether fasting affects your cells. It's how dramatically they transform when food disappears. Most people think hunger is the hardest part of fasting. Stomach growling, cravings attacking, energy crashing. But that's just surface noise. The real story unfolds inside your mitochondria, those tiny power plants living in nearly every cell. These organelles are about to experience what scientists call metabolic switching, and it begins faster than you'd expect. Within the first 12 hours, your cells burn through their glucose reserves. Glycogen stored in muscles and liver gets depleted, forcing mitochondria to find alternative fuel. This isn't a gentle transition. Your cells are essentially being told their normal energy supply has been cut off and they need to figure out a backup plan immediately. Some people feel this shift as fatigue or irritability. Your brain, which devours about 20% of your body's energy despite being only 2% of your weight, starts complaining loudly. But while you're feeling the discomfort, your mitochondria are already pivoting toward fat metabolism. By hour 18, ketone production ramps up. Your liver breaks down fatty acids into these small molecules that can cross the blood-brain barrier, and suddenly your cells have discovered an entirely different fuel source. Ketones aren't just replacement energy. They're actually more efficient than glucose in some ways, producing less oxidative stress per unit of ATP generated. This is when fasting stops being about willpower and starts being about biochemistry. Around the 24-hour mark, something remarkable begins. Autophagy, the cellular self-cleaning process, shifts into higher gear. The word literally means self-eating, and that's essentially what happens. Your cells start identifying damaged proteins, misfolded molecules, and dysfunctional organelles, then systematically breaking them down for parts. Picture a factory that's been running non-stop for years. Machines break, waste accumulates, efficiency drops. Now imagine shutting down production for 3 days to let maintenance crews repair everything. That's autophagy during fasting. But here's what makes this process fascinating. Autophagy isn't just cleanup, it's quality control. Cells tag malfunctioning mitochondria for destruction, a process called mitophagy. Old mitochondria that produce excessive free radicals get recycled, while newer, more efficient ones take their place. Studies on mice show that fasting-induced autophagy can extend lifespan and improve resistance to age-related diseases. Human research is still catching up, but the cellular mechanisms appear identical. When you fast for 72 hours, you're essentially forcing your cells to spring clean at a molecular level. The second day is often the hardest mentally, but cellularly, it's when transformation accelerates. Insulin levels have dropped dramatically by now, sometimes reaching their lowest point in years. Without constant insulin signaling, cells become more sensitive to the hormone, which has profound implications for metabolic health. Low insulin acts like a green light for fat burning. Adipose tissue releases stored triglycerides, which get converted into free fatty acids and ketones. Your cells, no longer flooded with glucose, adapt to running almost entirely on these fat-derived fuels. Meanwhile, human growth hormone levels spike. Research shows HGH can increase 5-fold or more during extended fasting. This hormone doesn't just build muscle, it protects existing lean tissue while encouraging fat breakdown. Your cells receive signals to preserve protein and cannibalize fat instead, a survival mechanism refined over millions of years of human evolution. There's also a shift in cellular stress resistance. Mild stress, the kind imposed by fasting, activates protective pathways. Cells ramp up production of antioxidants and heat shock proteins, molecules that help other proteins fold correctly and resist damage. It's a biological principle called hormesis. What doesn't kill your cells makes them stronger. By hour 48, another layer of cellular adaptation emerges. Gene expression patterns change. Specific genes involved in longevity, stress resistance, and DNA repair get switched on, while others related to growth and inflammation get dialed down. One of these genes, SIRT1, becomes more active. It belongs to a family of proteins called sirtuins, which regulates cellular aging. When SIRT1 activates, it influences mitochondrial function, reduces inflammation, and even impacts how DNA gets packaged and read. Scientists sometimes call sirtuins the longevity genes because of their role in extending lifespan in various organisms. Fasting is one of the most reliable ways to activate them without pharmaceutical intervention. There's also a noticeable drop in mTOR signaling. This pathway promotes cell growth and protein synthesis, which sounds beneficial until you realize constant mTOR activation is linked to accelerated aging and cancer risk. Fasting essentially tells cells to stop growing and start maintaining, shifting resources from expansion to repair. Your immune system undergoes changes too. White blood cells that were old or damaged begin getting cleared out through autophagy. Then, when you eventually refeed, stem cells activate to regenerate fresh immune cells. It's like your body is hitting a reset button on immune function. Research from the University of Southern California found that fasting for as little as 3 days can regenerate the entire immune system, especially in people whose immune function was compromised by aging or chemotherapy. The mechanism? Fasting triggers stem cell-based regeneration of immune cells once food is reintroduced. But there's something else happening at the cellular level that most people never consider. Inflammation markers drop. C-reactive protein, interleukin-6, and other inflammatory molecules decrease as fasting continues. Chronic inflammation damages cells over time, contributing to everything from heart disease to neurodegeneration. When inflammation subsides, cells function more cleanly. Signaling pathways work better. Mitochondria produce energy more efficiently. Even the endoplasmic reticulum, the cellular structure responsible for protein folding, experiences less stress. Now we're approaching the 72-hour threshold, and this is where cellular changes reach their peak intensity. Autophagy is in full effect. Ketone levels are high. Insulin is low. Growth hormone is elevated. Gene expression has shifted toward longevity and repair. Your cells have essentially entered a state that's rare in modern life. For most of human history, periodic food scarcity was normal. Our cellular machinery evolved to not just survive fasting, but to use it as an opportunity for maintenance and optimization. But what happens at the exact moment you hit 72 hours? And what occurs inside your cells when you finally break the fast? The transition from fasting back to feeding triggers an entirely different cascade of cellular events, one that might be just as important as the fast itself. At 72 hours, your body stands at a crossroads. This is the moment where cellular stress has peaked, and the benefits of fasting reach their maximum intensity. But here's what most people misunderstand. The real magic doesn't happen during the fast alone. It happens when you reintroduce food. Breaking the fast correctly triggers stem cell activation, immune regeneration, and a metabolic reboot that can last for weeks. Do it wrong and you risk shocking your system, causing digestive distress, or even negating some of the cellular gains you just earned. The first food you eat after 3 days matters more than you think. Your digestive system has been dormant. Stomach acid production slowed, digestive enzymes reduced. The gut lining tightened its junctions, creating a temporary barrier that protected against inflammation. Now, suddenly reintroducing heavy or processed foods forces your intestines to scramble. It's like waking someone from deep sleep with an air horn. The gut needs a gentle wake-up call, not a shock. Bone broth, fermented vegetables, or a small portion of easily digestible protein work best. These foods provide nutrients without overwhelming your system. They ease digestion back into rhythm while supplying amino acids that help rebuild tissues worn down during the fast. Within hours of that first meal, insulin starts to rise again. Growth hormone, which spiked during fasting, begins to decline. But here's the fascinating part. The elevated growth hormone during fasting primes your muscles and tissues to absorb nutrients more efficiently once you eat. It's called nutrient partitioning. Your body becomes better at directing calories toward muscle repair and cellular function rather than fat storage. Stem cells that were dormant during the fast suddenly wake up. Studies show that refeeding after prolonged fasting activates hematopoietic stem cells in bone marrow, generating fresh immune cells. It's one of the reasons fasting has been studied for immune rejuvenation in cancer patients undergoing chemotherapy. The fast clears out old, damaged cells. The refeed rebuilds them stronger. But what about muscle loss? This is the fear that stops many people from attempting longer fasts. After 72 hours, doesn't the body start breaking down muscle for fuel? The answer is more nuanced than a simple yes or no. During the first 3 days, muscle protein breakdown does increase slightly, but so does protein recycling through autophagy. Your body isn't wasting muscle randomly, it's selectively dismantling damaged proteins and reusing their amino acids. Additionally, the spike in growth hormone and adrenaline helps preserve lean mass. Evolution designed this response because losing muscle during short periods of food scarcity would have been catastrophic for survival. Our ancestors needed strength to hunt and gather once food became available again. Only when fasting extends well beyond 3 days does significant muscle catabolism become a real concern. Athletes and bodybuilders often worry about this more than necessary. Research shows that resistance training combined with intermittent or periodic fasting can actually improve body composition by reducing fat while maintaining muscle. The key is adequate protein intake during eating windows and strategic timing of workouts. Now let's address energy levels. By day 3, many people report feeling surprisingly alert, even euphoric. This isn't just psychological. Ketones, especially beta-hydroxybutyrate, have mood-stabilizing effects. They influence neurotransmitter production, increasing GABA and reducing glutamate, which calms neural excitability. Some researchers compare the mental state during deep ketosis to a mild meditative high. It's one reason why fasting has been explored as a complementary treatment for anxiety and depression. However, this experience isn't universal. Some people feel weak, irritable, or foggy throughout the entire 72 hours. Genetics, metabolic flexibility, and prior diet all influence how someone responds to fasting. If your body isn't adapted to burning fat efficiently, the transition into ketosis feels brutal. This is why easing into longer fasts with shorter intermittent fasting periods can make the experience far more tolerable. Electrolytes play a critical role here. Fasting depletes sodium, potassium, and magnesium because insulin levels drop, causing kidneys to excrete more of these minerals. Without replenishment, you risk dizziness, heart palpitations, and muscle cramps. Drinking water alone isn't enough. You need salt, ideally from mineral-rich sources, and possibly magnesium supplementation. This single adjustment can transform a miserable fast into a manageable one. So what happens after you break the fast and return to normal eating? The cellular changes don't just disappear. Autophagy continues at lower levels. Mitochondrial efficiency remains elevated. Insulin sensitivity improves for days, sometimes weeks. Your cells essentially remember the fasting period and operate more efficiently because of it. This metabolic memory is why periodic fasting can have cumulative benefits over time. Some people adopt a monthly 72-hour fast as a reset ritual. Others prefer shorter daily fasting windows like 16 or 18 hours. Both approaches tap into similar pathways, just at different intensities. The longer the fast, the deeper the cellular cleanup, but also the harder the challenge. It's about finding what fits your lifestyle and health goals. What about risks? Fasting isn't appropriate for everyone. People with a history of eating disorders, pregnant or breastfeeding women, those with type 1 diabetes, and individuals on certain medications should avoid prolonged fasting without medical supervision. Even healthy adults can experience complications if they push too hard without preparation. Dehydration, electrolyte imbalances, and refeeding syndrome, a dangerous shift in fluids and electrolytes after prolonged fasting, are real concerns. Refeeding syndrome happens when someone who has fasted for an extended period suddenly consumes large amounts of carbohydrates. Insulin spikes, pulling potassium, magnesium, and phosphate into cells rapidly. Blood levels of these minerals plummet, potentially causing heart arrhythmias, seizures, or even death. It's rare with a 72-hour fast, but the risk increases with longer fasts, especially in malnourished individuals. This is why breaking a fast gently is non-negotiable. The science of fasting reveals something profound about human biology. We are not designed to eat constantly. Our cells thrive on periods of nutrient abundance followed by scarcity. This rhythm activates repair mechanisms that modern lifestyles have largely suppressed. Every meal triggers growth signals. Every break from eating triggers maintenance signals. Balance between the two determines how well your cells age. Fasting for 72 hours is not a magic cure, but it is a powerful tool. It forces your body into a state it rarely experiences, one where survival mechanisms activate, cells clean house, and metabolic flexibility improves. The question isn't whether fasting works. The science confirms it does. The question is whether it's right for you and whether you're willing to approach it with the respect and preparation it demands. Those 72 hours might feel long, but the cellular transformation happening inside you is worth every challenging moment. Your cells aren't static. They're dynamic, constantly responding to the signals you give them through food or the absence of it. A 72-hour fast strips away the noise of constant eating and reveals what your body can do when survival mode activates. Autophagy clears the damage. Ketones fuel your brain differently. Stem cells prepare to regenerate. Inflammation drops. Gene expression shifts toward longevity. These aren't abstract concepts. They're measurable, real changes happening at the most fundamental level of your biology. But fasting isn't a shortcut or a trend. It's a biological reset that demands preparation, respect, and awareness of your own health status. Done correctly, it offers a window into how human cells have adapted over millennia to thrive during scarcity. Done recklessly, it risks harm. The choice to fast is personal, but the science behind what happens inside your cells is universal. Those 3 days without food teach your body something it's forgotten in our world of endless abundance. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for your cells is simply give them